1958 was the year that Mao decided to launch an ambitious economic plan known as the Great Leap Forward. So, the Great Leap Forward is an economic plan that caused a serious imbalance in the Chinese economy between the end of 1950s and the beginning of the 1960s. The Chinese Communist Party invested large amount of hope, resources, and money in this second five-year plan. However, at the end, the worsening of the economic situation nullified all economical results obtained during the first years of People's Republic of China. Mao's idea was to increase mass production to improve China's economy. He wanted to increase the production of iron and steel into an extremely high level. He wanted China to catch up with the European countries. So his slogan was raised as "Catch up with Britain within 15 years." Mao proclaimed his visions that China could be transformed into a leading industrial power in a record time. He thought that all of this could be achieved with the mass mobilization of the Chinese people and the correct leadership from the Communist Party. So, all of this is, of course, a gigantic experiment with far-reaching and potentially devastating consequences for China. During 1958, Mao was convinced that China would become one of the world's major economic and also political players. In autumn 1957, he declared that China would be producing 40 million tons of steel, and by the 1970s, a figure was that twice as high as the one that Central Committee had approved only 2 months earlier. As Mao's expectations were raised even higher, by autumn 1958, he was predicting a steel target, so too with agriculture. In December 1958, he set a target to gain production of 430 million tons, more than twice as much as had ever been produced even in the best years. The year 1958 had been a good harvest for China, many due to favorable weather conditions. The government trumpeted a harvest record of 375 million tons of grain, as proves of Mao's Great Leap Forward was becoming a success. But Mao's aim were becoming a bit too unrealistic, and his plans did not turn out quite well. He had to fake figures so that the Chinese people would not lose trust and faith in him. So in 1959, the harvest was quite terrible. The government declared a harvest of 270 million tons of grain, but the actual figures were closer to 170 million tons of grain. So these were one of the reasons that the Great Famine that took place in China, and that caused an estimate of 40 million deaths due to starvation. So not only did agricultural production go wrong, but the steel production did as well. Mao's objective in 1959, the target was 20 million tons, and for 1962, 60 million tons. But none of these objectives were met. Moreover, the quality of the steel produced was very poor, and most of it was left to rust. So this proved that Mao's Great Leap Forward was a failure, because ill-conceived strategies such as the Great Sparrow Campaign, which worsened the outcome because Mao lacked of understanding of the issues. His agricultural experiments based on Lysenko's theories worsened this situation. So, overall, we can say that Mao's Great Leap Forward plan and campaign was a real failure. Not only he was responsible for the death of millions of people, but he lost the trust of his people and left China in debt and economically imbalanced.